As you are about to see, the items contained in the exhaustive and impressive 2017 accomplishments report represents but a mere sampling of the activities and strides made through the collective efforts of the members of this legislative body. The members of the 2017 legislative body, including former City Council President Greg Rabb and former Council Member at Large George Spitali. Also includes the efforts of our outstanding department heads and managers, the best municipal workforce that one could ever imagine, and a broader community of volunteers, business operators, property owners, and not-for-profit organization leaders who truly care about and love this city and sacrifice on a daily basis to make it all that it is capable of being. And because of that, and despite the problems and challenges before us, and make no mistake about it, we have many, and for that matter, what place doesn't these days? I still believe that the state of our city is sound and getting stronger and better each and every day. In fact, with what is currently happening, what is on the designing boards for the coming years, and most importantly, the way things are happening, I am more confident about the future of this place, probably more so than at any other point in my 57 years. But I also want you to take this moment to listen. Listen carefully. Listen really carefully. Do you hear it? And I'm not talking about the siren that's going by the building at this point in time. Unfortunately, I can hear it, and have been hearing it all too loud and clear from certain self-serving individuals in certain circles and on certain platforms. Not just in the past several weeks since we've all been sworn into office, the past several months, or through the diseased and destructively toxic and tribal national political environment of the past several years. No, this has existed in various virulent forms and strengths throughout my nearly 4-decade career in local public service. Now, I'm sure that it will not shock many when I remind you that there exists a small, vocal, and persistent group right here in our fair community that unfortunately carries and spreads the message that Jamestown is the little city that couldn't. These are the people that imagine conspiracies lurking around every corner and tend to oppose any new idea coming down the pike. These folks believe that no matter what we think or say or do, things are always going to be too big, too expensive, and too hard for a place like this and people like us to achieve. These individuals believe that we should simply lower our expectations, go along and merely learn to accept our limited abilities and lowly station life. And I can hear right now, and all too well, their negative din and pathetic drumbeat. How dare they talk about such lofty and demanding goals? For all places, Jamestown? There is no way that we should try this, and we can't achieve that. Maybe somewhere else, like down south or out west where my son, niece, or granddaughter moved, but not here in Jamestown. And my personal favorite from the greatest hits list, this just isn't the same town anymore, and we need to take it back. And we need to band together and take it back to a point in time that made sense. A point in time where everyone was good, honest, and nice to each other. A point in time where everyone spoke English and looked and acted like real Americans. A point in time where good factory jobs were falling off the trees and every man, with only a high school certificate in his hand, could literally walk down the street and have his pick of the litter. The downtown area looked like Times Square on a Saturday night, and the throngs of happy shoppers with everything at their fingertips that they could possibly want literally pushed pedestrians into the gridlocked streets. And those streets, well, they were paved in gold, or at least the rare potholes were. A good and wholesome time in which girls were girls and boys were boys, and every real man, hard-working man, loved his family and took care of his own without ever having to ask others for help. A time in which there was no crime and certainly no drugs and substance abuse issues. And a time where everybody flew and pledged to our flag with pride, listened to Frank Sinatra, Elvis, or at least Elvis's early stuff, and the Beatles, and love thy neighbors as thyself. Well, my friends and colleagues, the truth of the matter is that that wonderful Norman Rockwell place never really existed, except, of course, in the well-meaning but historically revisionist hearts and minds of those who choose not to deal with what is, or what can be, and what truly can be if we would only work together in the interest of others and not ourselves, and what truly can be if we only embrace the meaning of our nation's motto, E pluribus unum, out of many, one. In the spirit and words of that great American poet and philosopher from Hicksville, Long Island, Billy Joel, I've always believed that the good old days weren't always good, and tomorrow ain't as bad as it seems. Tonight I'd like to leave you with a little story that I may have shared along the way with some of you over the years. Several years ago, as a young and newly elected public official, I was dining at a New York Conference of Mayors meeting with a diverse group of my senior colleagues from throughout the state, when the conversation inevitably turned to the challenges, issues, and successes in our respective communities. Upon completing an account of the amazing economic turnaround in the downstate city of White Plains, a booming suburb of New York City at the time, my friend Mayor Joe Delfino turned to me and asked, "So Sammy, tell us about Jamestown. What kind of place is it, and what's happening up there?" I have to admit to you that for a moment I froze and was left wondering what I could possibly say in the wake of the White Plains tale of Renaissance. After taking a deep breath, I proceeded to share with Joe and the rest of our table mates my vision of New York's Pearl City. We are a good and generous place where folks live the miracle of hard work in the attempt to maintain their homes, send their kids to college, and provide an improved standard of living for their families. We are a good and generous place where parents, teachers, and community volunteers give of themselves, raise money, donate time, and hang on every note played in support of the talented students comprising our world-class music programs. We are a place where thousands of volunteers and sponsors make possible parades and antique car shows and charity basketball tournaments, ethnic festivals, Babe Ruth World Series tournaments, and hockey, baseball, football, and skating events at every level for our young people. We are a good place where people truly embrace the arts because they understand and are smart enough the important contributions that the arts make, not only to the intellectual, but the economic well-being of the broader community. We are a good place where people touch the lives of friends, family members, and individuals across the city and around the world through one of our 100 churches representing more than 40 different religious denominations. Parents, grandchildren, aunts, uncles, and caring adults coach youth sports teams and give of their time to the YMCA, the YWCA, the Boys and Girls Club, the Boy Scouts, the Girl Scouts, PTAs, and a host of other organizations. Professional educators, aides, foster grandparents, and community volunteers teach, care for, and nurture our young people as if they were their own children. Men and women from all ages reach out to neighbors and offer individual acts of kindness to strangers in need. And we are a good and generous city government. With the limited dollars afforded to us by our hardworking taxpayers, we provide the highest possible level of public services to enhance the quality of life not only within our own city, but for our neighbors throughout southwestern New York. At this point, Joe looked at me and emphatically stated, "You, my friend, may not be the mayor of a wealthy city, but you are fortunate and blessed to be the mayor of a truly rich community with a bright future." And speaking of that future, it is obviously filled with critical choices that will determine what type of place this will be for our children and our grandchildren. Will we embrace my friend Joe Delfino's forest for the trees insight, or will we choose to follow the depressing path of the doomsdayers and the naysayers who seem to be hell-bent on infecting the rest of us with their own strain of misery? Will we innovate, plan, and invest, or will we be drawn down in our own fears, limited vision, and thoughts of diminished capabilities? Will we allow small thinking and fear of failure to paralyze and hold us hostage in this chamber, in our homes, and in our own minds? Or will we embrace and display the type of attitude and bold thinking by which those who walked and served before us truly conducted their lives? Will we be content to settle for the mundane and the bare minimum in order to merely get through the day? Or will we allow ourselves to dream, take reasonable risks, and build a better community for our kids and generations to come? Tonight, I ask each and every member of this community to join with me, my colleagues, and all of those who dare to think, plan, invest, collaborate, and look at this marvelous place not as it once was, or even as it is now, but rather for what it can be someday. Join with us as we tell and demonstrate for everyone with an open mind and everyone who is willing to listen that we are smart enough, strong enough, resourceful enough, and good enough to look for and demand the best in others so that we can deliver the best to ourselves and future generations. Yes, my fellow colleagues and Jamestowners, even with the problems and challenges before us, the state of our city is sound. And if we choose to work in the interest of others and not ourselves, it will continue to get a little stronger and better with each passing day. Thanks.